Everybody, and sorry, my record thing just came on. Welcome everybody. My name is Sherry McCurio. I am the Executive Director of the Office of Community Relations. And in that role, I get the absolute honor to be able to help host our alumni events. And this month, I'm really excited because as you will see, and you probably saw on the hold slide, we have three amazing ladies who are going to be sharing their stories. And our event is going to be moderated by my amazing boss, Christi Cabungcal, who has an amazing story of her own. For those of you who have attended our monthly events, you know that Christi actually moderated one of our events a couple of years ago and does a great job. So I think her talents and the absolute wonderful ladies that we have today joining us, I think you'll get a lot out of today's event. With that, I'm going to hand off to Aaron Cassidy, and he is going to give you some bios of the folks who are joining us today.
Thank you, Christy, and I get the honor to introduce these ladies. So it'll be a really fun day. We're excited for everyone to be here. Just one quick housekeeping item. When it comes to questions, we'll hold to the end. We'll leave some time at the end for some questions. But we're going to jump right in because these bios I had to cut down because they're fantastic and they do so much, these ladies do. And I know we want to get right into the event. So we'll start with Tatjana Brown, is the founder and a wine buyer for Meza Wine Shop, a retail wine shop in historical Uptown Westerville that she and her husband opened in 2008. She has passionately worked for the past 15 years to grow and evolve the business while also remaining focused on the community impact through fundraising and charitable giving. She has really found her passion and calling in mentoring other women in the small business arena, and is working towards offering this as an extension of a support for a professional service potentially. Tatjana is a graduate of The Ohio State University and Franklin University with a degree in 2003, a master's in marketing and communication. Our next guest is Misti Norman, a graduate of Franklin University with dual degrees in business management and marketing. Since her graduation, Misti has started several successful businesses ranging from nonprofit and for-profit, with a focus though always in community service. Her current business endeavor is Heavenly Kids Center for Learning. At Heavenly Kids, it's an early learning center operating for the past 15 years in Columbus's downtown Discovery District, which, by the way, is a neighbor of Franklin University. Misti's mission is to nurture, teach, and grow children to reach their highest potential. And not only is that span from the children, but now it goes to their families and staff alike, which is a big impact. Misti is also a strong advocate, obviously, for early learning education within the community. She serves on an advisory committee for Groundwork Ohio and Action for Children, two premier voices in Ohio for early education. She is presented at the Ohio State House as well as Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., advocating for youth learners. Martina Zenyos is the president and co-owner of Artina Promotional Products. Artina is a family-owned, full-service products agency for the past 56 years, and also part of the largest buying group, top 1% in the promotional industry nationally. Martina has a bachelor's degree from Ohio State University and an MBA from Franklin University. Martina is active on the National Association of Women's Business Owners, also Women for Economic Leadership Developments. She was recognized with the Inspire Award in 2018, Smart Business Columbus in 2019, and a Visionary Honoree in 2022. And finally, she's also a proud co-founder of Artina Choose Kind Foundation, which is inspired by her mother, who had a heart and compassion for making a difference for those who are less fortunate. And our great moderator today is Christi Cabungcal. In her role at Franklin University, she is the Chief of Staff and Senior Vice President for Administration. Christi is also a member of the President's Cabinet and a key administrative leader here at Franklin. She works to support the achievement of organizational goals by aligning Franklin's human capital and infrastructure strategies with the university's overall mission. In her role, Christi partners with the university leadership to promote a culture of collaboration, empowerment, and achievement. She earned her bachelor's degree in psychology as well as an MBA from Otterbein. She supports her community by serving as a board member on the board of directors at Columbus Goodwill, and I know she has a lot of other endeavors as well. So with that, I'm getting out of the way. I'm going to turn it over to some amazing leaders. And this, again, is kind of a nod to Women History Month, too. So thank you to all the women out there for all that you do. Christi?
Thank you very much, Aaron. You know, you touched on passion and empowerment, and I think this group of women that we have before us today really embodies those characteristics and many more. This is a very powerful, accomplished group of individuals who have given back in their time, talent, and treasure, in addition to had substantial impact on the communities they serve through their organizations. With so much to offer and so much we want to learn today, we're going to dive right in. And I'd like to open up by asking our participants, we'll start with Tatjana this morning, our panelists, to talk a little bit about your business, your organization, and what led you down that path. Tatjana, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. So we opened up our shop in the historic Uptown Westerville district in 2008. And it was shortly after I was leaving sort of a transitional time in a career in corporate retail. And, you know, we really just loved the small town feel of the area that we moved to in Westerville and saw a lot of potential for growth there and for, you know, just a more unique type of a shop there. So that's when we started out. And then our path has been kind of interesting. We've grown sort of in different ways. We started out as a retail shop. We moved into serving on premise wine, and then we moved into like charcuterie displays, charcuterie boxes. And then throughout all of that, we've always had a great focus on giving back to the community and raising money for Westerville schools, for other organizations that mean a lot to us. And so more recently, that's kind of been what we're working on a lot this year as we kind of transition to a different business model, but we're focusing a lot on a fundraising option that we have created through our business that not only brings people, you know, gives people an opportunity to get to know Meza, but also gives us an opportunity to help them give back to their schools or charities that mean a lot to them.
Sounds like a beautiful strategy. And I have to say, I have been to your shop, as I mentioned to you a little bit earlier, and it's a fantastic shop. So for anybody who will be in Uptown Westerville, my hometown, I highly recommend you stop in. Thank you very much, Tatjana. Martina, and we'd like for you to go next.
Okay. Well, I just was getting my ideas turning because I'm thinking about maybe planning a Choose Kind Foundation fundraiser at the wine shop.
There you go.
Well, I am part of a family business. So I entered my my business, which is my father started in 1967. And I had studied at Ohio State. I studied child development, and I thought that I wanted to pursue a path in that field. While working at Ohio State, I was working part-time in our family business, which was downtown. So I'd kind of spend my mornings on campus and my afternoons in the office. So probably between my third and fourth year at Ohio State, I knew I was going to stay in that path. I really was enjoying learning the business, and I kind of fell in love and wanted to stay in. So upon graduation, I came on board full time. A couple of years in, then I enrolled at Franklin and completed my MBA, which was very critical to my success and taking over the business. So, but we are like Aaron's bio read, we're a full service promotional products firm. We work with clients all over the country to help them accomplish their external and internal marketing goals. So whether they're trying to attract new clients to work with them, or whether they're trying to attract talent to their team, engage employees, employee retention, all those kind of goals are how we partner with our clients to help them find the right promotional gifts to accompany those initiatives. So it's a fun, growing industry. And I love it. In 2019, we also embarked in our foundation, our Choose Kind Foundation, which is a nod to my mother. And that has been a true joy to to grow that and to get more involved in, giving back to the community.
Thank you very much, Bettina. I will say that, as you mentioned, we've been collaborators with your company for a long time, with you and your company. And the products are outstanding, absolutely excellent and fun. To your point, we've had a lot of fun with our swag and promotional items over the years. So thank you very much for your partnership. Misti, good morning.
Good morning. Well, I was trying to think of what I wanted to say because my story is kind of long, but I think I can condense it. But as Erin shared, I'm a graduate of Franklin University and graduated with a dual degree in marketing and business management. And my all-time dream was to be a big-time ad executive. Love marketing, love printed material. And so my path kind of changed when I started having children. I moved away and I was a stay-at-home mom, and I'm a proud mother of 4, but my oldest son, I started showing signs of developmental delays and I didn't know what to do. I didn't have a lot of information. So of course, like any good mother, a lot of research started happening, and I ended up homeschooling him because I couldn't find his niche. And I'm speaking kind of from the present to the past because that term niche, I understand it now, but I didn't understand his learning style. So I decided to homeschool him. In that process, I started working with an online school, did some consulting from there. And I think I started liking kids. So I ended up starting a before and after school program, which turned into someone telling me about a child care center that was going out of business. And I still had that angle of marketing. I wanted to still, design and, lay out printed materials. So I thought, okay, I can do this. I can market the program and have someone else run the facility. And unfortunately, that didn't go over well. I didn't realize that childcare had so many ins and outs and rules and regulations that I didn't have a clue about. So after our first terrible license visit, I thought, oh my gosh, I need to get in here and figure out what we're doing. And so the rest was history. I became the administrator. And like I said, the rest is history. I started, growing the business, was still able to use my marketing background. My son, by the way, is doing amazing. He's a grown man now, but he's doing well. I ended up, after a couple of years of homeschooling, and once I started the child care center, he did end up going back to school in a traditional school. But like I said earlier about the niche, one thing I learned and that I impart into our parents that is it's critical to know your child's learning style. And my son is a creative. He actually graduated from Columbia CCAD a couple of years ago when the teachers thought he was not going to be successful. But once I tapped into his learning style, I was able to, navigate him a little bit better. And so that's really my passion now, is helping parents just identify their child's learning style, because every child is different and they don't learn the same. And so we can't put our kids in a box. But I don't want to ramble. We'll talk about that, a little bit more. But that's how I ended up at Heavenly Kids.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I know that at Heavenly Kids, you've got a really passionate philosophy, a really compassionate philosophy, some of which you began to describe, and hopefully we'll hear a little bit more about that as we go. One thing I've heard already from each of you is your commitment, your passion, your drive to give back. And we'll unfold that a little bit as we talk today. But before we do that, I want to ask you all each to describe your leadership style, help us get to know you a little better. Leadership style is the secret to our success very often, how we move about the world, how we accomplish what we do. So, Misti, I'm going to stay with you if you don't mind and ask you to open that up.
No, that's fine. I'm kind of a mother hen. I'm very hands-on with my staff. I'm not like a strong, what do you call it, a driver where I dictate. I'm very compassionate. Like I said, I'm kind of the mother here. I sit down, I listen to what they need and develop strategies to help them accomplish their goals.
Beautiful. Thank you. Martina?
Well, I think for me, it really just kind of starts with understanding and knowing that each person on our team is unique and different. And even while some people are in the same role, they may have different personal goals. So I really try to be sure I, understand each person's individual goals and help lead them to, even kind of piggybacking on a child's learning style, even an adult's, learning style on the job and how they or want to be led, because different people respond to different coaching, better or worse. So understanding that, I also recognize that as a leader, one of my biggest responsibilities is to remove barriers and obstacles, for them to be successful. So I do focus a lot of my time and my energy on, removing those or listening to them and understanding what challenges they're facing and try to, help them. And just kind of, support. I also consider it as well. I don't like to be, overly hands-on from a standpoint of how to do something. I like to really teach the why behind, and help people understand the big picture and sort of where we're going, and, teach possible solutions and options and just be supportive.
I can glean already, and I know that Tatjana will fall in the same camp, that you really care about the people that you're working with. And it's not, your folks are not a means to an end. They're each individual with individual impact opportunities and contributions. This learning style concept is really fascinating. And as you know, what we do also here at Franklin, with some of you alum, educating all of you alum, I think, right?
Right.
Yes. Educating the working adult is all about a learning style and all about really dialing in to help folks achieve their personal goals. And so I think there's some really interesting discussion there. Tatjana, what about you?
We're a really small family-run business. So a lot of times I think when you start a business and it's just you and your partner and your family running it, you tend to feel that you have to hold all the reins like yourself and do everything yourself. But that can get really overwhelming and it really stretches you, uncomfortably. And so I really try to always focus on finding people and letting the people that are helping us, finding a way to let their skills shine. They have skills that I don't have, and leaning on them for those things and not feeling the need to just keep everything, under my own umbrella, and just allowing them to highlight their skills. So that's super important to me, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to do it.
Thank you so much. I think once again, Misti, were you done, Tatjana?
Yeah.
Misti, I'm gonna lean into the learning styles for just a minute, because I think it came through in everybody's comments today. And I think it applies to really so many facets of life. We do have a question from the audience, which I want to stop and take, because I think it's an important and timely question. And we have a participant that would like to know more about specifically how you sort of figured out your son's learning style.
That's good. Gosh, that's a loaded question. I think, first of all, understanding the styles of each child, be it their communication styles, their personalities, and just looking at that and seeing how that falls into different categories of learning. Again, my son was distracted in school, and again, having some patterns, not being able to sit still, distracted in school. Of course, now they're labeling children with ADHD, but that wasn't really his issue. He's a visual learner and he's very creative. And so as I began to research just different learning styles of children or just people, I stumbled onto just his way to learn, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And so again, it's no, I guess you can say it's in a handbook, but it takes some time to really understand just the different learning styles of individuals, especially with children.
Thank you very
And,
much.
and can I elaborate on that too? And just
Sure.
taking it and not allowing folks to label, the child just because they can't sit still. Understand if they're visual learners or, audible learners. I think there's two more. I'm sorry, didn't have all of that
Okay.
prepared, but there's different type of learners. So I guess I want to conclude with saying that there's different type of learners and find out where your child fits into that learning style and grooming them towards that.
Very good. It sounds like you did quite a bit of research on your journey. And
Yes.
I think that that's, a really important element, along with, it sounds like you spent a tremendous amount of time and took the task on personally of sort of solving that riddle. So, and we're glad to hear your son's doing well today, and graduate of wonderful CCAD, our neighbor. Very cool school. So you all are an inspiration in and of yourselves. I mean, just, the grit and determination I know it has taken each of you to achieve the success that you have today. The things you've had to say no to and the things you've had to say yes to that maybe you weren't prepared for. And that's, there's no magic formula. That's hard to do. It's hard to do the right thing at the right time. And I'm kind of curious if there are folks in your background that have guided you, inspired you, been instrumental to you as you've worked your way through getting where you are today. So I'd like to open up, Tatjana, with you.
Sure. I would say, when talking about mentorship and people who kind of inspire you to start out doing what you're doing, I initially, I've had family members, extended family members who have started their own businesses. So I guess I had that as just kind of an example, but I don't know that I really realized, how much that maybe had an effect at the time. And then I would say, my parents are immigrants. They came over from Serbia in the 70s. And they are so extremely hardworking. And they always, have pushed us to push for whatever we wanted, my brother and I. And so I feel like that was super inspirational, and it's given us that grit, I feel like, to not give up when things were difficult. And over the years, when we've hit obstacles, it's really pushed us past that. So they were definitely an inspiration in that way.
It sounds like entrepreneurship is coursing through your veins. Thank you. Martina.
Similarly, certainly my parents have been a big inspiration for me. I definitely took very different traits from each of them. A lot of the, kind of business sense and, processes and wanting to take, an operation, make it better and smooth and so forth. I get that from my dad. On my mom's side, just the passion for the community and helping others, just it kind of, unfortunately, it took 7 years ago. I lost my mom, and it was strange, and it did take her passing to really step back and recognize and see everything she did for so many people that she touched in her life. And, growing up as a child and being busy with my life and school and work and starting my family, we can, easily just kind of be centric and, focused on ourselves and not see. But it did when she passed, so many people that came out of the woodworks at her viewing and sharing stories, and people we didn't know. And they just, I can talk about that and her forever, but so she was definitely a big inspiration for me. I also would say he was my husband, or he was my boyfriend at the time. But when I graduated with my undergrad, my husband was interested in getting his MBA. And honestly, it wasn't even something I was thinking about and considering. And so he kind of gave me that nudge and said, you can definitely do this, it'd be great for you. So he inspires me every day. He also leads a business, and we have very different styles, but he's always encouraging me and pushing me to go one step further. Also peer groups, I would say. I'm part of several different peer groups from different organizations that I'm a part of. I don't love to network on a large scale and go in a room and work a room, but I found the way that I draw inspiration from others, as well as be able to give back, is in smaller peer groups within these organizations. And a lot of my peers inspire me.
Thank you so much. I love the idea of small groups versus these large networking opportunities. Not everybody, that's not for everyone, these large rooms of, sort of making your way around. Now, for some of us, it is. But the idea of working through small groups to network is a really interesting topic. And maybe for Sherry and Aaron, maybe one we could spend a little more time on in a future session. Misti.
Yes, definitely my mom has been my biggest mentor. She actually passed when I was mid-20s, just about to get married. But it's crazy. I still hear all of her words of encouragement. Still to this day, whenever I get into a situation, I hear her just little nuggets of wisdom. She was a single mom. I had 3 children. I was the youngest. I was actually the youngest of my grandmother's children and her grandkids. And they were all kind of, I had all these parents, so to speak, because I was also the first to graduate from college. And so that was a big deal. So everyone was kind of looking at me to make it happen, so to speak. And so, yeah, just my mom, my sister, I have an older sister. She's 8 years older than me. Once my mom passed, she, made sure I kept going. And so, yeah, those are my 2 biggest mentors. And believe it or not, I have 4 kids. They're all grown, and they mentor me too. It's interesting. I always say that I raised them to receive. So that's my statement. I'm raised to receive, because the things that I've imparted into them, they kind of give it back to me. So it's good to have some young mentors in my life as well.
I love the powerful influence of family that's come through for each of you today, and share a similar story with you, Misti. Lots of folks interested in mentoring me as a kid. So the baby of the family. I think that it sort of leads us to think about the individuals who work for us and the families that they have, and how important and how powerful each of us are in our own families. And so I suspect, given your leadership descriptions earlier, that you all have a good, warm, and soft spot for individuals and their family dynamics as individual people. So I'd like to talk a little bit about, first of all, we have a comment in the chat that just said, hard to believe you have 4 grown kids, Misti. I second that. And also the idea about the small group networking was an idea that really resonated with some folks. I talked a little bit about how many challenges each of you probably faced along the way. And we've heard a little bit about who inspired you to deal with those challenges. And I'm interested in learning, and I know the audience is interested in hearing maybe an example or 2 about some obstacles that you faced along the way and sort of how you handled that. So I'd like to open up with Tatjana and go from there.
Yeah, I would say, we're a retail-based business, and that obviously can be very volatile, depending on so many factors. And when we did first open our shop, It was right at the time of a big economic downturn, and which was not expected, you know, within a year of us opening. And that was extremely difficult. And it was, you know, just a time where we weren't prepared for that. And the first couple of years were definitely tough. There was a lot of times where we could have just said, like, this isn't going to work. I was pregnant with our oldest daughter when we opened the business. So there was, you know, a lot going on. And I think it would have been really easy to say, like, this is going to work for our family right now. But again, I think we were able to kind of push through that at that time, and find solutions to the business and having people, you know, engage with the business in a different way. And so we did kind of open up into an on-premise consumption, kind of running like a neighborhood place where people could come and wine taste, and that kind of evolved over the years. And then we faced another major obstacle with the pandemic. So obviously, when you're running a business that requires people to come in and gather during that period of time, it was just not an option. And I think if we would have made the choice to just shut things down and wait it out, or, you know, just kind of stay in the same mode that we were, we would not probably be open today. So we made a really quick shift at that point in time to change our business to adapt to what was going on. And with that, we essentially built our whole online business at that point in time, so that we were no longer just servicing Westerville or people coming to Westerville, but now it extended to the whole Columbus area. We offered, you know, online shopping delivery 6 days a week. So we really made a quick change there. And that was a major obstacle because we weren't sure that, you know, if it would work or what the response would be. And but that was just what we had to do in that time. And it was worth the push through to make that happen.
I would imagine it takes some courage to adapt so fast and sort of turn on a dime that way, and kind of commit to that. So congratulations on that adaptation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Martina.
I mean, there's definitely a lot of different individual obstacles that I can reflect on and talk about, but I would probably say from a bigger picture standpoint for me, my biggest obstacles have typically been my own self, you know, just self-doubt or getting in my own way and second guessing myself, or, you know, avoiding something because of fear. So, you know, I would just say some of that has just come with, you know, growing as an individual and as, you know, as a professional, but also, you know, so just, you know, time, but just a mental, it's definitely a mindset and learning and continuously surrounding yourself by people that, so for example, if, you know, if fear is something that I you know, have, then surrounding myself with people that are fearless or, you know, that take more chances and kind of learning from those people, or maybe it's podcasts or books or things that you can, you know, kind of improve in those areas. But I've definitely come a long way, you know, as it relates to overcoming those hurdles, or even just pushing through, you know, even if I'm hesitating now to try something or do something, I just, you know, kind of just, what do you have to lose? You know, so you just try.
I hear a lot of courage in what you're describing as well. And I not to zero in on one particular point, but the idea of surrounding yourself with people that may exemplify your you know, be exemplars of your gaps, I think is a very interesting concept and might tie to your small group notion, spending time with folks more intimately that have something to offer in areas where you're looking to learn and grow. Thank you very much. Misti.
With obstacles, I was just thinking, gosh, first of all, I'll say having an early learning center is so rewarding, but every day there's an obstacle, be it small or large. Like every day, a clogged toilet or a child having a meltdown or a parent freaking out about something. And so, I mean, I hate to say that, but it's true. So small obstacles, to be honest, I lean onto my faith. I'm very spiritual. I pray a lot because and we're dealing with so many different avenues of personalities too. It's hard to have like a specific formula other than my faith. That's constant. That's my constant. But I on a natural standpoint, just having that business and marketing background has been great. I'm thinking of different strategies to help me navigate changes. Tatjana was sharing earlier about when COVID hit. Prior to COVID, our biggest challenge has always been staffing, but we've been able to manage that through our marketing efforts. But when COVID hit, it's a whole different ballpark now. We're still trying to figure out how to maintain staff or get staff. And so again, just leaning on to that marketing strategies and being creative on how we can overcome some of the obstacles that we're facing now has been just how we've been overcoming.
The world has been an obstacle for us in recent years. So there's a large looming obstacle that's been out there that I would imagine your day-to-day firefighting in your business has helped you with your ability to sort of respond to things in real time and be adaptive, as Tatjana discussed, and sort of responsive. So
very true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well done. Well, as I mentioned earlier, I noticed that you all give back, and I think, Misti, your whole business is give back. But in addition, I know that you give back, you mentor, and otherwise. And I'd like to just let each of you just talk about how and why you give back, why that's important to you, and sort of how you go about doing that. So, Misti, we'll stay with you and open up and make our way around.
Yes, I feel like when I started noticing my son's delays and opening up this business, or just the before and after school program, and realizing other parents were having the same struggle, and remembering how I felt so alone, during that process, it felt great to be able to support and advise and share and see the reward that they received by having that information. And so once you have that experience, it's like, wow, life is more than just getting. And so that's just my passion now. I love the joy that I see when we help folks and see our children succeed, our parents succeed, our staff by just giving back to and meeting their needs. So that's kind of,
it's more than just getting. I think that's a quote to take down today. It's one I've been talking with my teenager about recently. Give and take in life, and making deposits to the general goodwill of your life and those around you can be so important. So thank you for sharing. Martina. You're muted, Martina.
Sorry about that. So just, again, I mentioned earlier when, losing my mom 7 years ago. And I also, was raising 2 young boys. I think they might have been in middle school at the time. And, again, you talked about just kind of a crazy world that we live in. And I found myself, having conversations at home with my kids. I think I don't remember what year it was, but they had their first experience of learning of a child in our school district that had taken their life. And things came out about how other kids treat kids, and bullying, conversations around bullying, and so many things around the world of the not so kind world. And so, again, just conversations and recognizing the kind heart that my mom had, we talk about that at home all the time, about lifting others, even just a new child that shows up at school, helping them, or the underdog, or, just be that person, and others will follow too, if you are the first one to extend a hand. So, we ended up, before we even realized we were making a foundation, we had designed a logo called Choose Kind, or, the Choose Kind logo. And we had it, be a theme around one of our trade shows that we were hosting years ago. And then, I think it was a conversation with our marketing agency and talking with them about, all the give back that we already do, and the sponsorships and the donations that we do to different nonprofits in town that we, wanted to support. They told us, you could consider to form a foundation and channel those dollars and that energy through the foundation. And, that's kind of when the light bulb came on to form our foundation. And it allowed us to put, her story and a lot more behind it. And it's made it a lot more fun too. But the Choose Kind message obviously is so much more than just raising money or giving some of our company profits to the nonprofit organizations that we're aligned with and we want to support. But it's even just, teaching our team the importance of volunteering and giving back. We give them paid time off to, work in the community and volunteer, and just talking about, spreading the message of kindness and being kind, complimenting others, and so forth. So it's it's kind of like got so many different arms to it.
It sounds like a culture and a way of life and a philosophy and philanthropic ways of supporting that philosophy. And so what a wonderful concept and philosophy to be wrapped around. I think we all would feel that way. Thank you, Tatjana.
Oh, sorry. Since we opened the business, we had always found different small ways to give back, like on a personal level. But I think we pretty quickly realized that as a business in this type of community, that allows you to have more reach than you could as an individual. And so we really, leaned into becoming that, a business that really just supports our community, our schools, any efforts, to help those that need it. And because we have a bigger reach. And so we, over the years, we've done various things with, even with our kids, like small type fundraising types of things, to some bigger things. I had a really good friend who decided a couple of years back that she wanted to start a charitable giving organization here in Westerville called 100 Women of Westerville. And, she was very interested in doing it, but at that point in time had no place to do it. And to me, that felt like an easy yes. Like we hosted that for several years until it kind of outgrew the space that we had. But it felt like such a great way to get people together, bring in community members, find a way to make a bigger impact. So we did that for a while. And then, since then, that organization has evolved and kind of moved on. And we just have continued to feel inspiration from it and continue to focus on fundraising for, charities that mean a lot to us, for Westerville City Schools, in any way that we can.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the contributions given being a fellow community member with you there to the community. So I want to talk a little bit about, we have just a few minutes left here and then we'll take some questions. But I'd like to ask each of you to offer or think of a piece of practical advice. You've already given quite a few today. And so no pressure to give more, but if you have some practical advice you could offer the audience today, we'd like to hear that. Tatjana, we'll stay with you.
Sure. I think I guess like two different points, but a little bit, I think going back to earlier what Martina was talking about networking in like a smaller group or connecting with women in that way. That's something that I'm not a natural like networker. That's difficult for me. And where I found such strength and inspiration is meeting like one-on-one with women or business owners or people who, you know, have great vision, and just developing those relationships like authentically with those people. And that just, I feel, is so uplifting. And it just gives you that someone to just lean on when you're trying to make decisions for your business, and you can oftentimes feel a little bit alone in that. And then the other thing I was going to just mention is staying very fluid and very open to change within your business, because I think sometimes we can get really stuck, at least I can, you know, and this is what I'm doing, and, you know, that's the only way to do it. And I think realizing that sometimes, you know, the market will change, you know, all the change that we've been through over the last couple of years, and that being able to respond and allow that change to happen within your business is super important, so that you can remain, stay afloat and remain relevant.
Thank you very much, Martina.
I think those were great points. I was probably going to focus my suggestion around leaning in and leaning on others. I feel like that's just been a big part of, you know, my growth and my path and, you know, what I would consider success. So leaning in the peer groups, you know, again, just, I think somebody had also commented that, you know, like for my father, for example, following in his footsteps, he was just like a natural born networker, very charismatic. You could put him in a room with 500 people and he just would, you know, work that room and make so many friends and connections. And for me, in fact, I would go to many of those things with him as I was kind of learning under him. And I just was so anxious and, you know, had just so many butterflies and I could never get comfortable. So yeah, I, again, just learned to take the memberships that I was a part of, such as, you know, we're all women business owners. I'm a member of NABO. And then they have this, you know, peer groups. So that we call them roundtables. So in fact, open invitation, would love to invite you guys if you guys would have an interest to join my roundtable. But you know, we are kind of float between 8 and 12 women in that peer group, and we meet you know, not quite monthly, but close to, but then we also in between, we can lean on each other and reach out, you know, each person's, you know, businesses or their strengths and things that they've accomplished just from learning each other. And you can reach out to them in between meetings for advice or get a glass of wine and talk about something, etc. So that's been very valuable. And that's probably my biggest piece of advice.
Thank you very much. I have such a takeaway around all of that today. Personally, you know, I think it feels like there's no shame in not being the person that can walk into a room of 500 people and make the magic. It's a wonderful thing for those who have that gift. But I think leaning into your own strengths, your own comfort zone, and finding ways to derive that value, make those connections and those contacts that are so important in that smaller setting.
And, you know, Christi, if I can just add real briefly, you know, you can have them in a lot of different, so just to help kind of open everybody's, you know, mind to, you know, so yes, we're a female-owned business, but we're a family-owned business. We're in the promotional products industry. So I have, you know, I'm a member of Conway Family Business Center. There's unique things about being in a family business. And so they also have peer groups. So I can have a peer group that's very specific to, you know, family business dynamics. Also in my industry, promotional, you know, I have a peer group that we meet monthly virtually because these businesses are all over North America. So it's lovely, you know, you get people that they may consider, you know, others may consider themselves competitors to yours, but we are so open and sharing and exchanging of ideas. So think about, the industry you're in or the field you're in. If you work in HR or you work in marketing, being part of those groups and then finding those smaller peer groups.
Excellent advice. And it sounds like you've taken full advantage of the power of the small group. Very, very nice advice. Thank you. Misti, we're going to wrap up with you today. No pressure.
I guess I was thinking if there were anyone in the audience that is looking to start a business. And the advice I would give them is to define their denominator, which means just know what their foundation and what their mission is. Because I feel like as women, we have so many ideas, so many things that we want to do, and we're all over the place. But if we take some time, sometimes getting alone, obviously having mentors and being a part of peer groups is amazing, but sometimes we just have to tap into our own selves to really drive down on what we want to do and, write those things down. And then once you know that, you can start branching out to figure out how you accomplish that goal. And I do want to circle back around. The question was asked, how do we find out our child's learning style? And this applies to adults too. Just what are we passionate about? What drives us? What gets us excited? And for my son, it was he's very artistic. I could give him a crayon and some paper and he would create. And so that was kind of an indicator. And so I give that advice to adults too. What is that thing that, aside from money, because, money can't buy you happiness, but that's an old saying, but just what is it that just drives you and that you're passionate about and go from there. So just define that denominator.
You've coined a new phrase and valuable phrase for me today, and find your denominator. I've not heard it described in those words before, and I love that concept. What is your foundation? What is your center? What is your core? And going back to that, in times of challenge, in times of trouble, or when you need inspiration for that next thing or that next idea, feels like a very wise piece of advice. So great way to wrap our panel. We do have a little bit of time for questions. I want to thank each of you for your excellent insights today, and I will open the floor. I do have a question in chat. Sherry, were you going to lead questions?
I can do that, absolutely. And I'm looking at the chat right now. I will tell you, as you are taking a moment to add your questions in, Erin and I are making notes, and I look for some of these topics to come up in future events, because as Christi had said, I think it's a great idea. I think it's often hard to walk into a room, like we've all said, with 500 people and try to be that person. But I think that there's sometimes more meeting in those smaller connections. So we will definitely look at seeing if we can bring together some experts to provide some tips on that. And quite frankly, Erin and I are working on an initiative right now to try to bring our alumni together as sort of a peer-to-peer. I don't want to call it mentoring, but that those sort of roundtable concepts. So I'm taking a lot of notes as well, because we are currently building that out and working with our alumni council on what that will look like. So got some great ideas today. I'm looking to see if there are some questions in here. We got the son's learning style. Am I missing another one, Christi? I don't see one. Or Erin, did you see any other question?
I don't see any specific questions. A lot of great compliments, but not a specific.
Yeah, and we brought these incredible women together because I think there is a misnomer sometimes about what it takes to run a small business. And I quite honestly think I had parents who owned a small business, and I think they worked harder when they own their own business than when they work for somebody else. It's a lot of time. And as women, as men, anybody, balancing a business with your own life is challenging. And as somebody who has grandchildren now, my kids wore me out when they were in the middle of all of their activities. So to do that on top of owning a business is difficult. So I applaud everybody on this call and everybody who's here listening, because it takes a lot to get through the day sometimes. And Being able to lean on other people, look for examples. I think everyone in this group has had that stream that went through that talked about just a work ethic. I think about Christi. Christi's got one of the greatest work ethics I know. She balances 8,000 things in the air at any one time and does it flawlessly. And I try to be that person myself, and I'm not. So I think I'm getting some ideas about some potential upcoming topics. So my applaud to everybody on this call. And I also will give my apologies. I'm doing this from my phone. My laptop was having an issue, so I'm trying to read this as I'm talking to each of you. There is not a peer group directory, but that I'm aware for the university, but I would lean out to the panelists today to see if there is some sort of peer group directory that you might be aware of, that if somebody wants to actually network with other professional women that have similar interests.
Is it Tatjana? Would you like to pop on, Tatjana? I hope I've said that properly. Are you out there?
I saw her question in there too, and I could just comment without knowing more details of what she's looking for, but I can
Yes,
also.
ladies, I'm so sorry. I was trying to unmute. I did not turn my camera on because I have my Shih Tzu right here on my lap. So it's definitely not the most professional background.
Fantastic. The world of multitasking.
Oh my goodness, yes.
But Martina had some thoughts here for you. And then if any of our other panelists would like to offer specific groups or ideas to Tatjana. Martina?
Yeah, I was just going to comment that I also don't know of any specific directories for peer groups, but there can be a directory within the larger organization.
Okay.
So if your company, your organization, I don't know if you work for yourself or for a company, any memberships that your company is a part of, could be chambers, could be, any membership that they participate in, there are usually peer groups within those. So you just would have to go to those organization websites or reach out to a contact us, page and ask. But there likely are peer groups that are either established already or new ones that they're building, but you just kind of have to go to the different groups that you are associated with and look for them.
Okay. Look, I'm going to move to a location where I can turn my camera on. I feel weird not being able to show my face, but I want to say, so currently I work for the Department of Defense. And what I do is I teach virtually. So whenever I get a chance not to turn my camera on, I don't. Look, let me see. Here it goes. So let me see. I'm going to turn it on for you. And I'm looking forward to going into possibly, and I haven't started this yet. I want to start maybe a transitional home or a resource center for women, or so. Hearing you guys talk, you have the same passion that I have, and that's for the people. So I'm just looking forward to being around other professional women with that same interest, and maybe having the chance to brainstorm and get ideas from other people, those types of things. So I'll keep that in mind as far as maybe looking at these different agencies and maybe even going onto their websites and finding out if they have peer groups or anything like that. Because through church now, all the churches are doing now are small groups. And it's perfect. If you notice that some of the churches, I don't know what you follow or whatever, but they have small groups, and it's for a specific reason. It's so that you don't feel, you feel comfortable, you're more likely to talk, you're more likely to share. So I want that same thing in the business realm. But I thank you all for your amazing presentations. And I thank you for being patient with me while I figure out where I'm sitting and stuff and all that good stuff. But
Thank you.
No judgment.
Thank you so much for that question and great insights as we've gotten all today. I don't see any other questions, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap just to respect everyone. Oh yeah.
Tatjana, have you checked Small Business Administration, the SBA office?
No, ma'am.
I would highly recommend contacting your local SBA office because they have so many resources and can lead you to other resources. So that's a great start.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna go ahead and wrap. And again, thank you. We could have changed this topic to it's not about business, because there was so much wisdom dropped that was not the hands-on side of business, but yet if you follow it is going to make your business successful. So thank you to all of our panelists. Thank you, Christi, for moderating, Sherry, for your support. I've been very fortunate to have very great leaders who are women. And so I'm so thankful for that. We have an April event, will be the LinkedIn Guru. So if you want to know all about LinkedIn, check your email, will be coming out about that. He will give some great insights. He's an alum as well. So that is our April event. Our April podcast right now is with the CIO of Nationwide Children's Hospital. So a nod to Women's History Month there. So make sure you check out as well. And with that, we'll say goodbye to everyone. Thank you so much. And until we talk to you again, have a great week.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
ladies.
Bye-bye.